Gang. What's up, it's Trollbot the EXE, and welcome back to Trollbot Studios, and welcome to a new video. And today, on the 9th episode of the history of Kamen Rider, we are covering Masked Rider. Yes, the Saban series. And if we have time, Kamen Rider SD. This is actually probably the penultimate, or actually maybe even last episode covering the Showa series / Ishinomori era. And after that, I'm going to take a break from this series for a while. Or at least until the slideshow is finished. So, let's hit with that good old recap. Yee! Previously on the history of Kamen Rider, after Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, Toei was left scratching their heads on what to do next. Initially they proposed a sequel, but that was quickly cancelled, so they decided to try other ideas. After much debating, it was decided to make a new rider. With Toei's top brass in on the production, the final product was the successful Kamen Rider ZO. It itself was supposed to get a sequel, but that was canned. So, in its place, new ideas were sprouting, and instead of a sequel to Kamen Rider ZO, they got a new rider, Kamen Rider J. And this time, Rider led into the more environmental scenes that Ishinomori was concerned with. However, unlike the previous two installments, whatever start of a future project would be shelved, and thus Kamen Rider would go dormant once more. At least in Japan. Now we turn on focus to America, and see what they will do with Kamen Rider. Find out now. In 1995 America, Power Rangers was all the rage. Going into its third season, Power Rangers, as you probably know, was created by Saban Entertainment using footage from the Super Sentai series, primarily Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger at the moment. Saban had struck gold once again in 1994 when they transformed a couple of Metal Hero series into VR Troopers, which I explained in another video, but sadly that video has been copyright struck off the face of the planet. So, Super Sentai and Metal Heroes. All that's left for Saban to adapt from Toei's vault of big tokusatsu properties was Kamen Rider. Except there's gonna be a problem that will arise later. The most recent television series was Kamen Rider Black RX, which we covered. And at the time, it was 6 years old. So they really couldn't use the suits. The final product ended up being Masked Rider. And he was actually supposed to be a Power Ranger spin-off, even debuting in the episode of the third season. However, sometime after that episode, Power Rangers began to decline in popularity. So Saban decided to completely sever any ties from Power Rangers and make Masked Rider its own thing. And also, another result of the old Black RX footage was that Saban had to improvise using footage from Kamen Rider ZO and J in certain episodes. ZO's footage was actually used first, funnily enough. However, since the vast majority of the footage was from Black RX, this is considered an adaptation of RX, not ZO or J. Besides, ZO has already gotten an English dub in form of the video game. And finally, whoopsie another 3Z, because of the old Black RX footage, the suits were gone. I can assume the suits either degraded or were reassembled and repurposed for other productions. Now, let's go over the story. Dex is a prince from Edenoi. Edenoi is a desolate world ravaged by Dex's uncle, Count Dragon. Dragon wants to expand his empire to Earth in order to find new people to convert into soldiers. Dex's grandfather, Alexian, is seeking for a way to liberate Edenoi, defeat Dragon, and save Earth. So he sends Dex to Earth with the power of Max Rider. Dex crash lands into the yard of the Stewards, a suburban family who take him in. And later, Dex's pet, Furbus, shows up. Now, Dex has to manage his new life while protecting the universe from Count Dragon and his empire. The show lasted 40 episodes from 1995 to 1996, and audiences found it disappointing. It has been maligned for many reasons, mainly because of Furbus and turning RX into basically a sitcom. While the source material, RX, doesn't have the best reputation, seeing as it came after what's considered to be the gold standard for Kamen Rider, aka Kamen Rider Black, the most well-known show in the Showa era besides the original, Max Rider has turned into one of the most universally hated entries in the entire franchise. And funnily enough, its legacy, besides being the first writer to make it into American television, is how we call Kamen Rider Kamen Rider. Because until 2010, the English name for Kamen Rider was Max Rider, hence the name of the show. But in 2010, the series Kamen Rider Ryuki, which we'll talk about in the Heisei videos, was adapted into Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, and they named it that to disassociate with the previous adaptation. And ever since, the English name for a Kamen Rider was Kamen Rider. Okay, I feel like I've covered enough for one video, so next time will be the Showa era finale. It's not going to be one big momentous occasion as you would expect, as all we're going to cover is some miscellaneous stuff, and the pre-production of Kuga, aka the early stages of planning. After that, I'm going to take a break from this series for a while, so get excited. And you're probably wondering why it took so long for me to make a new video. It's because this November has been horrible. Now, since I'm finally on break, I can actually make more content. And maybe after the history of Kamen Rider Showa era finale, maybe I can talk about stuff like, let me think. Oh, black churches. So, get excited for the future. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and comment down below. Until then, later, fools.